Hey, what's going on, guys? Assalamu alaikum. In this video, I want to teach you Java in under 10 minutes. Java is a popular programming language, which a lot of people have been saying that Java is dying. And last week, I've done a video where Java is finally dying. If you haven't watched that video, go and watch. But obviously, it got really good reactions. And as we know, it's all myths because, Java, it's used by all of these big tech giants, Netflix, Google, AWS, also in the enterprise world, as well as startup. So usually Spring Boot is very famous, and it's powered by Java. So Java, it's a solid language that you should learn because obviously it teaches you a bunch of other constructs that makes other languages so easy to learn. So this is how I'm able to pick up pretty much every single language out there. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and start this video. So let's begin by understanding exactly what is Java. So Java is a platform independent programming language which runs on the JVM, and it's mostly known as an object-oriented programming language, which means that you create a bunch of these objects: house, car, person, and then you can combine them together. This is a very simple example, but you can model anything in the real world by just creating a bunch of classes, and then from those classes you instantiate objects, and then that's how they interact with each other. All right, let's go ahead and learn how we can write our very first program with Java. So the very first thing that you need is IntelliJ, and IntelliJ, it's like Microsoft Word for programming and allows you to write Java code. Not only Java, you can write Java, JavaScript, Python, Golang, pretty much any programming language that you can think of. And this is the best IDE for software development. And when it comes to Java specifically, no other IDE beats IntelliJ. Sorry to say, I know some people still use Eclipse, but please do not use Eclipse. All right, so once you have that installed, you can go ahead and create a brand new project. So here, I'm going to create a new project, and then I'm going to name this. I'm going to say learn dash and then Java. And then here, I'm going to just leave everything as a default. And for the project, just make sure you select Java in here. So you can see that I've got Java in here, and then Maven, and then I don't need to create a repository because I'm not going to use Git in here. And then you have the JDK, so Java Development Kit. So with Java, you have a bunch of versions. So every single 6 months, there's a brand new version for the Java programming language. So in here, I'm just going to use 21. And if you want, you can have sample code, but don't worry, I'm going to show you this from scratch. So here, I'm going to say create, and there we go. Now, what you see is that we do have, some folders in here. If you expand source and then main, and then you see that we have Java in here, we can start to create some classes. And then within those classes, this is where we have all of our Java code. So here I want to right click and then new Java class. And then here, let's just say main. So usually the main entry point of your class, it's always called main. Now here I'm going to, so just hide this for a second. And inside here, what we're going to do is just say SOUT and then press enter. And this actually gives you auto completion for System.out.println. So anytime that you want to print something to the console, you have to do this. So here I'm going to say hello, for example, and I'm going to run this program by clicking on this play button. There we go. And you should see now on the console, hello. Hooray! This is your very first Java program. Nice and simple. But before, we used to have public static void main string args, and it used to be really complex. Now it's as simple as this. Cool. So you know how to print to the console. Let me teach you a concept now, which is called variables. So say that in here, you want to store the value of a string, for example. So what you could do is you could say var, and then maybe name equals 2, and then let's say Jamila in here. Cool. So this variable right now, and the name of the variable is name, holds the value Jamila. So here now, if I want to print the name, I could just replace this piece of text in here. And here I'm going to paste, and you can see that we have now name. So we're printing this value, which also strings, they start with, they start with double quotes in here and inside any text. So if I run this again through here now, you can see that we have Jamila. Now, the beauty is that you can now start to play around with this. So maybe you want to, uppercase every single element within this string. Then you could just say dot. And then here, these are methods that the string object gives you. So here you can see 2 uppercase, 2 lowercase. So in here, so if I say, let's just say 2 and then uppercase, and this is the name of the method, which I'll show you in a second. And then here we're invoking a method on this variable. And if I run this again, you can see that we have everything uppercase. Now with variables, we can store anything we want. So you can store strings, but also say that you want to store so var and then number equals 2, and then here that could be 10, for example. Then you could say var and then number and then 2 equals to 20, for example. And now I can basically combine these two numbers, right? So I could, if I delete this in here, I could say number plus and then number 2. So now this will perform addition on these two numbers. So here I'm going to run this, and you can see that we have 30. Variables, you can store literally anything you want. You can store a house if you want, you can store a person object if you want, literally anything you can think of on the real world. You model that into software, you can store that within variables. Without variables, there's no programs, trust me. All right, cool. So you see that we have strings, we have numbers, but also if you want to store booleans, true or false, you could say in here var and then is and then valid. So this is the name of the variable, and I can say equals to and then maybe true or and then false in here. So this is really useful when you start to learn about if statements, and if a value is true, then perform this piece of code. If a value is false, then perform this other piece of code. All right, cool. So let's now move on into methods. So methods basically allows us to create some functionality that we can reuse again and again and again. So outside here, I can say static, and then I can say int. So this method will return an integer, and then I'm going to say add and then numbers. And here I'm going to say int. So this int is basically the data type, which is whole numbers. I'm going to say a for number a, and then int b for number 2, for example, right? And then I can say return. So I'm going to return something from this method, a, and then plus, so plus, and then b. So that's my simple method. Now, how do I use this? So here, back in our main method, and this is where the application runs, I can now say, instead of this number 1 plus number 2, I can just say add numbers and then pass the number, which we have right here, and also number and then 2. So nice and simple. If I run this, you can see that we also have 30. So these are methods, and you can create methods to perform anything. So this is where you actually implement all of your algorithms. So methods, it's very, very important. Next, we have if statements. So say that in here, if and then is value. So this basically takes true or false. So a boolean. So I'm going to say if is valid. This is basically this variable in here. So if it's valid, south, say is valid. And then I can say else. So this is the case where it's not valid. I can say south, System.out.println, and usually we just use IDEs to help us to complete lines like this. So here I'm going to say is, whoops, is not, and then valid. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to run this, and you can see that we have is not valid because this value in here is false. If I say true in here, so now it's going to say if true, then it's going to run this piece of code. So if I run this, so just like this, and you can see that now it says is valid. All right, cool. Next, let's say that you want to model a person, for example. So how do you do that? Well, what we could do is we can create a record. So here I'm going to say record, and I'm going to say person. And this person in here basically has a name. So I'm going to say string and then name and then int and then age. And it's as simple as this, right? Now, what I do with this is I can create objects. You know, the similar thing would be classes. Probably you'll see people do person in here, and then I'm going to say person C, and this is a class where I can define all the attributes. So name, age, language, favorite food, nationality, so on and so forth. This basically, it's a simplified version of it, and obviously I teach all of this in my Java courses. Now you have Jamila in here, and Jamila, this is just a name, right? Now if you want to create a person, so a real person, and this is the object in here, I can say var and then J for Jamila, or Jamila equals to, and then new, and then person. And then here I need to pass the actual name for Jamila. So I'm going to say Jamila, and then comma, and then the age. So here I'm going to say 20, for example. Now this is a person. So this is the real person. If you want to create a second person, say that you have Alex, for example. So this is Alex. And then here I'm going to say Alex is 33, for example. So now you have two real people. And literally, this is all about Java. object-oriented programming language. So you create a bunch of these objects, or actually pretty much everything is almost an object in Java, and then you combine those objects together. So now if I say in here, so South, and then I want to print Jamila, for example, and also I want to print Alex in here. There we go. I can then in here say run, and you can see that I do have person in here, so name Jamila 20, and then Alex as well. So you basically just learn objects and classes and records as well. So this is the beauty of Java. And the last thing I want to show you is if you want to store, for example, a sequence of numbers. So here, for example, you saw that we have a variable that holds 10 and then another one for 20, but maybe you want to have those in one single variable. So how do you do it? Well, you could just say var, and then here I'm going to say numbers, for example, equals 2, and then I can say list dot of in here, and I need to import this. So at the very top we have import java.util.list so that we can use this in here, and then here I'm going to say 1 2 3 4 and then 5. So now this variable in here is a list that holds 5 numbers. Now if you want to loop, if you want to iterate through these numbers, what you could do is you could say numbers dot and then for each in here, and then you say n, so for each number. Then what you're going to do is I'm going to say South in here, so South, and then n, so this n now is going to be the number in here. So if I run this, you should see that we have in here 1 2 3 4 5. Maybe you want to double each number. Well, what you could do is you could say times and then 2. So now if I run this, you should see that we have 2 4 6 8 and 10. And to be honest, this is pretty much it. Now, obviously here I'm trying to teach you Java as fast as I can, and we have actually courses on Java teaching you step by step. So if you click on the link in the description of this video, you should find the exact course where I take you through step by step every single thing that you've seen here, and then you also get a free certificate. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash the like button, and also let me know what you want to see next. So for now, I'll see you in the next one.